Alrighty, we are so excited to have Emanuel Parris on the podcast tonight. Jeff wasn't able to make the conversation, but Emanuel, thank you for coming on tonight.
Oh, no worries. I guess I'm a bit sad that Jeff isn't here. But a pleasure to be on those Canadian lads. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely, man. We're a new podcast, and you are truly one of our freshest guests, newest guests. We've had a marketing expert, Katie Hobbins, on previously, and we have our long-standing guest, Saskatchewan Beau, who gives us some political advice from time to time. But thanks again, and I don't know whether to call you Emanuel, Coach Pow. I know you go by a few other names.
Well, you know what? Yeah. So if you procured my services as a coach, then Coach Pow would be it. So that's it, Coach Pow. Those who've known me for a very, very long time, you'll probably hear them calling me EJ. Emmanuel Joseph is my first name, so that was abbreviated. And then I have an appellation, which is Otieno. So sometimes I hear people throw that one around.
Right on, right on. Well, I appreciate you coming on. We've got lots to talk about tonight. We're going to try to cram as much as possible into the conversation. Kind of throwing it back just for a background for our guests. I know you have a bronze medal from the Commonwealth Games. Thank you. I'm a huge athletics fan and an Olympics fan, so talking to an Olympian is truly an honor for me. The last person I ever talked to who had an Olympic medal was Kathy Freeman. I ran into her at the Mexican restaurant on White Avenue, and she didn't want to admit that was her. So that was really cool. But having a chance to speak with you and kind of dig into the conversation, I truly appreciate it.
What that was, I'm like, was she here for the 2001?
The World Championships in 2001. I was a lot younger then.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. 'Cause I'm like, why would Kathy Freeman be here? Not to say like, I'm like coming all the way from Australia. What were you doing in Edmonton? There's some business you're taking.
that would be like really. Why are you in Edmonton? But yes,
yeah, it's like Edmontonians will go to Australia for the warm weather. It's like Australia's got some amazing summers. I was there. But yeah, Kathy Freeman, amazing. Watching her 400 meter Olympic final when she won gold there. That's definitely a race that could bring tears to someone's eyes.
And that's the glory of the Olympics and the sport that you have performed in, the sport you're coaching. So, I really want to kind of dive in. But, speaking of the Olympics, you are an Olympian, the 2008 Beijing Olympics, right?
Yep. So I was a member of the basically qualified for the Olympic Games in 2008 after placing fourth in the 100 meters at national championships. They usually take the top 5 or even 6 to the Olympics for the 4x100 meter relay. So they bring 4 runners plus 2 alternates. Sometimes they use an alternate or they'll use someone from the 200 meter dash. So in this case, there was Jared Connaughton, who he was running the open 200 meters. So he was one of the members on the relay team outside of myself, who finished 4th at trials. But
that's awesome.
So I went to the games, didn't do anything, but that's all right.
No, you qualified to go to the games, and that's huge, right? So I want to talk to you about a little bit about that. So first of all, I want to ask you, so obviously you're coaching now, but what was your first exposure to track and field?
First exposure to track was in elementary school.
Oh, nice.
In the schoolyard. I went to a school in Etobicoke, Ontario called Our Lady of Peace. It was a Catholic elementary school. And we had these like makeshift track lanes that were right outside one of the portables. Yes, we had portables because they didn't have enough rooms for kids.
They still have them.
Our population was growing. And I remember that was like the cool thing, was to get outside and just race. It was free. Obviously it costs energy. But it was like such a fun thing to do, was just to test your getaway sticks against everybody else. And I remember being like pretty fast. Actually, I'm certain that I was like the fastest one in my school, aside from my sister. And that's when I started kind of becoming interested in track and field, but it wasn't enough to take my interest away from martial arts or soccer. Those are my two favorites.
So what transitioned you? So when did you realize that, like, first of all, you called your legs your getaway sticks, and I'm going to use that going forward. I'm only 5'6", so these aren't getaway sticks. Maybe on hockey skates, but I'm going to use that line now. Yeah. But when did you realize you were good at, just the sport of running and just the athleticism of running?
So usually, like, people will join a sport when they realize that they're good. Some people do. Others will join when they realize that they suck, but they want to get better.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I sucked, but based on, like, the population that I was racing against, I wasn't that good. And I remember trying out for track and field. So, like, I had elementary school track and field, and it was, you didn't train. You just went out in the schoolyard and you ran. You ran for your high school. I was actually pretty good at cross country.
Yeah.
I should mention that. But then now we break into high school. High school was weird. It was like this very weird phase. I didn't participate. I think I actually tried out for, like, basketball in grade 9 and didn't make the team. We had a lot of kids in my school who played organized basketball as an extracurricular activity, so I stood no chance. Just a kid who played, like, street ball, but not enough.
Yeah.
So I didn't try out for sports. I was, like, 4'6" in grade 9 kind of thing, and just felt a bit, like, intimidated. So I just left the sports alone for, like, grade 9. And it wasn't until, like, grade 10, I was like, you know what, maybe I'm going to try out for soccer. I tried out for soccer. I didn't even make the team. And that was a sport that I played for 7 years. And it was just like, man, this sucks. And then I believe it was grade 11 rolled around. And at this point, it was like sports had literally nothing to do with my life. So it was weird. Like, now that I think back to that time, I'm like, wow, I was not even playing a sport. I wasn't doing any martial arts, soccer, nothing. Yeah. Just like, I'm not going to say getting into trouble, but I was, like, really close. So
you were on that cusp of going down a different road.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, but my mom put the fear of God in me. So it's like, I'd always be like, I got to go home. So
yeah.
If I ever want to experience a murder, I'll do something messed up and my mom will murder me.
You're explaining my mom, so.
Yeah. So basically, grade 11 rolled around and I was like, you know what? I got to do something. My sister, I'm skipping a big part of the story. She was like a track standout at this time in my high school and I'll say in Ontario as well. She did not train whatsoever and she was running fast, like hand times of like 12 seconds flat for the 100 meters. So everyone knew my sister's being the fast one. Grade 11 rolls around. She's a year older than me. And I'm like, I'm going to do track and field. I'm going to try out. And I came 5th in my grade. And I remember I got accepted as a relay alternate.
Okay.
And I remember racing at one meet and I was called the snowball meet. And I remember I ran better than everybody else who beat me at the high school tryouts. So it was kind of weird. It was like I showed up to the event and ran faster than everyone. So even though I got blown out by all the other competitors, like from the other schools, I was like, you know what? I think I got to try this again. And not only that, I think I need to gather some information that's going to help me run faster. So I started doing that. And I was like asking my sister questions about track drills and this and that and talking to people at track meets. And fast forward to grade 12, I ended up outsourcing a coach. And that's where I remember being like, okay, I suck. Because when I joined that track club, all of the athletes there were like, finalists from the high school championships in the 100 meters or 200. And I was the only one who didn't even make it out of the districts. So I'm training with this coach and she's not saying a thing to me. Like, I'm asking, she's like telling the other athletes, oh, you look great. You're going to run fast. I'm like, how about me? She's like, yeah, just keep going. And,
just run. Just run.
While, I was like, I don't know if this is the kind of coaching that I like. Part of me felt like she didn't like me. And I had some experiences like that in elementary school with teachers, just a few. And whenever you feel like a teacher doesn't like you, it's just hard to learn. So anyways, I switched coaches and long story short, or long story still long, I ended up winning my districts and regionals in the 100, 200, and 400 meters. And then ended up going to the high school provincial championships as the fastest 400-meter runner. I went there and I choked, and I think a lot of it had to do with not having enough fitness to run all three events. I was like one of the only athletes running all three events at high school champs. Like in my,
you were just going for it.
Yeah. So anyway, it's hopefully that story is digestible. I realized that, it wasn't even then that I realized that I was good, because like the times that I ran then, the 100 meters I went 10.88, 200 meters 21.88, and then not 10, I went 10.89, 21.88, and then in the 400 48.63. The 400 was probably my best performance, and having run all three events showed like, this kid could be molded into any one of these, possibly a 200-meter runner. But it took me like another 3 years after that to really realize that, okay, I may be good for this sport.
That's pretty actually interesting. If you kind of explain your progress through high school, right? And obviously you're going through body changes, hormone changes, and then you hit the coach that, and you're 100% right. If you're dealing with somebody who's not giving you the time or giving you the right attention to work on your technique in any sport, right? That could be kind of deflating, but for you to go down another road, and was that coach kind of a game changer, the next coach that was in your kind of in your life to kind of take you to the next step? Or
I went through a couple coaches, so I don't want to mention, I don't know, part of me feels like I should just mention names.
you don't have to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the first coach was on location at the University of Toronto.
Yeah.
And then I left there, went to York University, and found a really good. This coach was good because he actually, there was something about him, like you just started to believe in yourself just a little bit more. It was one of those things. And then I left him and ended up going to this coach who he just had all the fast athletes. Yeah. Everybody just gravitated towards him. It was a bunch of athletes who I used to train with in my first group. So it was really interesting. We all get together again under different circumstances with this, this coach who I think, we had more in common with, just background wise. Yeah. All the athletes in the group were from the Caribbean islands, or parents. Most of them were born in the islands. Yeah. My parents moved to Canada, so I was born here. Parents from Trinidad. But anyways, we all get back together, and that group was just like, we were having too much fun. We were having way too much fun. So then I switched over and went to a coach who I met at a chiropractor's office while I was dealing with a back injury from a car accident.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I wasn't getting any better. I lost a scholarship to Villanova. I had a full ride there, and I lost that scholarship and was like, I'm pretty much staying home. And I don't really have any other plan other than to get back in shape and run. And that's when I made the decision, or the decision I think was made for me, to drop the 400 and run the 100 and the 200.
And that was your prime focus then for the rest of your career?
Yeah, the 100 meters ended up being my prime focus, not by choice. I'll say it. My coach didn't feel like I was a good 200-meter runner based on how I came to him, because I was like barely lifting weights and weighed like 195 pounds at 5'9".
Yeah.
So he was like, you're too big. You can't make it around you can't make it around, you can't race. You can't run the 200 meters, at that body weight. And based on your 100-meter time, compared to the 200, you should be a 100-meter specialist. To this
so
day,
basically, physics are coming into play now, right? So
yeah. But, my best 100-meter time, I weighed 203 pounds. Yeah. Let me see my best 100-meter time. 203 pounds, and 205 when I ran my best 200-meter time. With no fitness though. Like I wasn't even training I wasn't even prepared for that. And when I tell you I died with like 80 meters to go, I was like walking. It looked like, I was doing one of these. And I was so embarrassed. after the race, I thought I ran like 23 seconds, and I was in Marietta, Georgia, and I remember just walking off the track and behind the stands. And funny story, the coach, someone who spotted me making that little trip of embarrassment, was I believe today Andre DeGrasse's coach, Raina Ryder.
Oh, no way.
Coach, yeah. So Raina was trying to recruit me before I went to school in Quebec. So between going to school in Illinois and Quebec, he was trying to get me to come to Kansas, where he was the track coach. So years later, he sees me, 205 pounds, running this terrible 200, sees me cut behind the stands, and he hadn't seen me in a long time. And it's like, whoa. He said, your coaches let you run like that? They try to put you on a diet.
Oh my God, that's hilarious, man. Like but that's the thing, right? If you don't know, and if you're not being like led down the right path, you don't know, right? That's the thing, right? Yeah. You're hiring these people to help you, go down the right road and give you their advice and their technique. And
I don't think, I can't really poo-poo on my old coach, my coach here in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Because he had a really solid group of athletes. Yeah. One of them was a national champ over 400 meters, and he had quite the 200 meter time. So I don't know if he looked at it like, why would I have you run a 200 when this 400 meter runner is running so much faster than you over 200? I don't really get it, but I think that could have been more volume that I could have gotten in that potentially would have helped in keeping some weight off. Because I wasn't even eating a lot. If I were to they used to say if I looked at a weight room, I would grow.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I guess the question next I have is, so you've gone from high school, you had a chance to go to Villanova. You say you go to school in Quebec.
I didn't go to Villanova. I lost that scholarship to Villanova, and I ended up going to Southern Illinois University, Salukis, in Carbondale, Illinois. So D1 school. Didn't go so well for me down there.
So, but that being said, like, kind of leading up to the question, like we talked about at the beginning, like, you've got a bronze medal in the Commonwealth Games. You've been to the Olympics. You've ran in a lot of events. So what was that next thing that kind of took you from, kind of working your way through your career, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're in these big events?
I'm sure, a friend of mine told me this the other day. He's like, you should write a book. Because when I sat down and told him the story, he was like, holy crap. Here's this piece. I'm racing in Illinois for my university, and we go to the Jesse Owens Track Classic in Ohio.
Yeah.
I run the 100 meters, and I run 11:16 in the 100 meters. Mind you, just today or yesterday, a young 19-year-old, or not even 19, I think she's like 16 years old or 17, Jamaican girl, just ran 11:16 or 11:11 at the World Under 20 Olympics in Nairobi.
Wow.
Right? So that just shows you, like, she would have beaten me. Not only that, on that very same day back in, it was like 2003, an American sprinter named Muna Lee from LSU, she ran 10:98 in the 100 meters at some meet on the very same day that I ran 11:16 in the 100 meters at Jesse Owens Track Classic.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, all my teammates who I was, fairly cool with, they were like, damn, man, you're on a full scholarship and you ran 11:16. Like,
oh, man.
You know what I mean? I was a bit of a hothead, so it's like,
yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I suck. But no, I was just kidding. I remember that point, I was like, damn, like, I'm actually, like, very slow. I came second last at the meet.
Yeah.
Like, there was like 60 some odd sprinters. There were so many flights that day, or heats. And I remember going to look at the results list because I didn't even hear my time. And I was just, like, scrolling down, over to the next sheet, down, over to the next sheet, 11:16. It was just like, holy crap. That is embarrassing.
Yeah.
And it didn't get any better. And I came home from school and I was like 200 and, like, I can't remember what. I didn't even weigh myself after 209.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even 5'9" at the time. I think I was like 5'6", 5'7". And it was just me eating food. And the track coach got really excited to put me in the gym because he thought I was like a gym body, but I was fairly weak.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
before I left, I was benching everything and squatting everything, and I was huge and couldn't move. So, anyways, I get back to my high school, or I get back to the coach who prepared me before I left for Illinois, and things got better. That was like a really good year. I just stayed. I stayed with him for a year. I did my education online independent learning program through the same university in Illinois. And I ended up running fast. And I think it was like that year, that was my first year going to national champs, which was also the Olympic trials in 2004. And I just missed qualifying the Olympics for the Olympics in 2004.
Okay. Yeah.
And I remember that was when, like, because 2003, 2004, I was going to quit track. And one of my good friends, Chris, was like, don't quit. So, I listened to him, and 2004 was a good year. And I remember showing up to national champs in 2005, and I'm at the Meet Hotel, and some folks from another province were like, are you EJ Parris? I said, yeah. And they're like, you're having a standout year. And I remember that sticking in my head, because I was like, holy crap. Like, okay, I think this is
somebody
like
took notice.
Yeah, and that was 2005. 2005, I got the bronze medal in the 200 meters. So this is before I stopped running 200s.
Yeah.
So 2005, bronze in the 200 meters, and I came fourth in the 100 meters and qualified for world champs as a relay guy. But I decided not to go to world champs in Finland. I felt like I wasn't ready.
Okay.
So I asked to go to like the kiddie version of track meets. So I know it sounds like some people are gonna be like, that's not right, but I decided to go to the World Student Games instead, which were in Turkey, instead of going to like the World Championships of track and field. All because I wanted to get in more runs. But whatever.
Did that bet pay off though for you? Was that the right decision in your mind?
Now that I think about it, part of me feels like perhaps if I had gone to World Champs, they may not have had me. They may not have run me on the relay because I was just so young. I was so new to the sport. I just they had a hurdler, Charles Allen, who was fast, who could also be interchangeable on the relay, and I believe they actually used him. So, because when I said I wasn't going, they just took the guy who came fifth.
And slot him
on the relay. Yeah, I remember telling the head track and field coach, Derek Covington. I was like, "Hey, Derek, my name is EJ Parris. You probably don't know me. I just this is my this is one of my this is my second time coming to national champs, and it's a pleasure. Thanks for having us on."
I came out. It's all good.
Yeah, I was like, "But I don't want to go to Worlds," and he was like, "What?"
Yeah.
You have like some family gathering that you have to go to. I was like, no. Like,
and it's in Finland, so.
Yeah, and he was like, well, you have to pay to go to Turkey. The trip to Finland's like taken care of. And I was like, that's okay.
You turned down the free ride?
Yeah, I know. So that was interesting. But
no, that is interesting. So then you go to the student games, you skip out on the world championships, and then does your progression just keep going on from there, and then all of a sudden you're there?
Yeah, 2005 was just like a place for me to get my feet wet without being so intimidated. Which is what I thought would happen. Anytime it came to like combat sports, taekwondo or whatever, I always felt very confident because I feel like this sounds kind of weird, but it's like when faced with combat, I there's never any like doubt in my mind, that I can win. But when it came to track and field or like soccer, I didn't approach it the same way, which was weird. And it wasn't until I quit track or retired from track in 2009 and then went to the wrestling room at the U of A that I was rekindled with that feeling, like wrestling and being like, I can't lose. And then I went back to track in 2012 and it was the first time ever I like actually carried that with me for my first couple competitions. I was like, and I thought to myself, this is something that I should have actually prepared because I was one of those athletes who would overanalyze things and forget one of my biggest gifts,
Do you think a lot of it then is between the ears as an an elite athlete? Because you're coaching people now, right? So
big time. They say some of the, I mean, everybody's cut from a different cloth, but they say some of the best athletes are the ones who have, I've said this before, who have selective amnesia. Tend to forget, and sometimes they say like the best athletes are the dumbest athletes, and I only say that they're just the ones who don't try to think too much while they're doing it. They're just completely involved in action. And those were my best races. When I was, one, having fun, and two, just totally involved in the action, that I got lost in it. And that's super important. And when they say it's, it's all between the ears, if the mind isn't, let's say, if the imagination isn't clear, in building what it is that you want, the desired outcome, the feeling, the everything, gathering all the senses, to I'll say using the sixth sense, imagination, but still feeling all the other five senses, you know what I mean? Because your imagination is so rich. Like you could smell the track or the wind, you can hear the people in the stands cheering, that kind of thing. I feel like when an athlete can really go that far into imagining their victories and stuff, that it truly happens, So I wouldn't doubt that a guy like Andre DeGrasse is one of the best at that. Another individual who I feel is like that, and even though people are like, oh, he's so much hype, and I don't really like him that much, is Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
So Conor McGregor, Israel Adesanya, those guys, they just stand out. Like more than just like, marketing geniuses, there's something about their energy that you can tell that they're very good at manifesting.
I think that's a lot of the greatest athletes that have ever existed. Muhammad Ali, you see in Edmonton, Conor McDavid, a lot of the elite athletes, they tend to go, I think what you're explaining is the zone, they just do, because they're in the moment, they're in the zone, and time slows down. And you just explained all of that, when you're running your race, time slows down. Like you said, you can smell the grass, you can see hear the fans, experience it and feel it, right?
Oh yeah.
What's it like? So, obviously Brad from those Canadian lads has never ran a race in front of thousands of people. So what is that like?
Okay, so it's crazy. My craziest experience would be Australia. Okay. Commonwealth Games. I'm running anchor for Team Canada. And I remember Glenroy telling me, I don't know if he was, I could have sworn he told me it was like 85,000 people. And I was like, no way. But the stadium was just packed. In the rounds, I didn't even want to look up. Because that's how, you just felt like everybody was staring at you.
Yeah, well, because they are.
And then in the finals, I'm now walking behind Asafa Powell. And I was fanboying a little bit because prior to going to the Commonwealth Games, I'm watching Asafa Powell win all the Diamond League track meets and breaking the world record over 100 meters. And now he's like walking in front of me. And as we're being marshaled out to the anchor leg position on the track. And I'm here like, holy crap. We're going in ranked second, or I think third. We're going in ranked second into the finals for the relay. Yeah. Jamaica being the only team that's run faster than us in the heats. And I'm like, I can't, there's nothing I can do right now but believe in my team and myself. And sorry being rude, but F Asafa Powell. You know what I mean? The other athletes on the track. I hope they finish healthy. That was one of my thoughts. I always say that. I hope me and my competitors finish this race healthy, because we see way too many, getaway sticks that bust down. Hamstring blowouts. It was crazy. So the baton was coming around, and it was it sounded like everyone in the stadium was stomping their feet. So it's just this rumbling that's coming around. I'm pretty certain people were stomping their feet and they were following the baton. Because as the baton came closer to me, I was like, what the fuck is this an earthquake? Yeah. That's kind of what it felt like. And then I took off and it was like everything was just slow motion. Like everything, just like a surreal feeling. I know athletes will describe moments like this and it sounds quite the same, but literally that's what it was. Everything was in slow motion for a few steps. And then all of a sudden I had I had to wait for the baton. We almost got disqualified. I grabbed the baton and, I run and maintain a third place position, which was our bronze. We gave away the silver medal, if not a good contest against Jamaica for the gold, but definitely we gave away the silver medal to South Africa because our bobbled baton exchange cost us that medal, and we beat South Africa in the heats handily.
Yeah, that's always tough, right? To know that a bit of a mistake, could have been the difference between gold, silver, bronze, or whatever, right? But
it was pretty fun.
Thank you for sharing that, because obviously that is, to me, that's a bit of an intimate moment in your mind of what's going on in an important part of your life, right? So, I guess kind of transitioning the conversation from your career, because that's one of the highlights of your career, winning that bronze medal. But how did that affect you in regards to the next steps in your life, in regards to, obviously you've transitioned now from being an active participant into coaching.
Yeah.
And how did that moment impact you? And now how do you feel that moment's impacting your students, right? The people that are entrusting you to help them be better athletes, better performers.
Well, I think it's having the psychological experience is sometimes missing from some coaches. And it's not like it's a problem. It's just when it's not there, then they have to borrow, or not borrow, but they have to compensate in other areas.
Yeah.
But having had the actual personal firsthand experience to comprehend what it's like, what kind of pressures there are psychologically to perform at a high level, I think a lot of my clients really see the value in how I share the information, or how I share that side of things, what it takes or what I believe it takes for someone to perform at a high level, where their mind can be, not where it should be, because everyone's going to be a little bit different, but where some of the things that we should be considering, mental training, mental resiliency, stress management, those things. A lot of people think training, coaching is just, I'm going to put together a good program. No, I need to find out, or you at least need to be having a look at what are your stress levels like, because that is a key performance indicator. And next from that, if your stress levels are high, what are you doing to manage that? What are you doing to make sure that that we can maintain our training, on the track or in the gym? Or will I need to reduce some of the training stress, to basically offset what's going on at home or whatever up here? So hopefully I answered that question. No,
man. That's very, that's kind of, I'm hoping that somebody, who's wanting to obviously get into athletics or even maybe track and field or a different sport, whatever, if they listen to this podcast and they listen to Emanuels talk about, that's kind of how, I wanted the conversation essentially to go to is, what was your path to where you are today? Because
honestly, it's the C word, confidence.
Yeah.
If I could have I probably could have answered like two of your questions like that by just saying that word, confidence. When I noticed that I started to improve in track and field, it was a confidence thing. I used to show up to track meets and look at the start list and worry about all those individuals who were faster than me and be like, oh, damn, and then one day I showed up to a track meet and I didn't even care to look at the start list and I won the meet.
Did anybody trigger that for you though? Did something happen where you're like, somebody maybe put that mental note or maybe that mental thing in your head?
I think it was, I usually have a pretty good memory. People tell me I have a memory of an elephant, but in this old age, I feel like it was one of my coaches, Mr. Wesley Johnson. I think he noticed one day that I kept looking at the meet list and he was like, stop looking at the list. And he did say that. He said, stop looking at the start list. And he goes, what you might not notice is that a lot of these athletes who are showing up to the meet are looking at the start list and worrying about you when they see your name there. And he goes, meanwhile, you're here worried about them. And I was like, what? He said, stop. He was like, stop looking at it. And I just stopped looking at it that day. And, I didn't win every meet after that, but that definitely changed my demeanor. And then I had a little stint in London, Ontario, where I lived with my sister. And she was going to University of Western Ontario, UWO. And I was coaching myself, or my coach was sending me programs, and I was training myself on this. I think it's the same place where Damian Warner, the decathlete, where he trains. Because they said Damian Warner prepared for the Olympics training on a 40-meter indoor track on that's just on the outside of a skating rink. And I know exactly what he's talking about because I trained there. You have to wear like a snowsuit and do your sprint. So I trained there, and I remember getting, significantly faster, but confidence was the one thing that transferred the most. No matter how strong I was. Because there were times in my training where I was fairly weak because my coach didn't want me lifting because I was getting too big.
Yeah.
He had me lifting, like throwing med balls and barely even lifting like 30% of my one repetition maximum. And I got down to 185 pounds, but I felt like weak as weak could be. And
was that frustrating though? Like thinking about that?
Fast.
Yeah.
I still ran fast. I ran my best season opener over 60 meters. And I remember I did complain. I felt like I had no power. I was just like a butterfly just floating through the air kind of thing. I was like, there was nothing there. It was this high velocity, low force. But yeah, confidence is it,
Confidence. Okay, so
yeah.
Jeff of those Canadian lads, he's given me a few questions. I'm going to throw some at you here about fitness.
Yeah.
You can answer them the best way you can possible. This is a long question, so
I'm
going to have to read it out here, okay, man?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to speak in my Jeff voice. He's very stern and very, very strong individual. He likes to lift, he's never afraid of the weight room. So I'll throw it at you like this. So when it comes to information in the fitness industry, there are so many sources, influencers who give out bad info, and let's face it, we're getting new studies in regards to training and nutrition that are legit changing our approach. How do you handle the info, and where do you turn for better info?
Man, you know what? This is a conversation I've had so many times, like literally had it at 6 p.m. today.
Perfect.
It's challenging. I've been involved in quite a few mentorships as of late, and I just find that when you have good critical thinking abilities and you have a wealth of personal experience, that sometimes it's easy to sniff out the quacks. And I find that if you have a good crew of peers, that also helps too, because sometimes they might be the ones to knock and steer you from the dark path.
Yeah.
Bullshit. So I find having a solid group of peers is a great way to go. Having a few mentors, probably not too many mentors, and then definitely making sure that firsthand experience is the tool that you're using. So instead of just like grabbing information and glorifying in that information before practice, check it out, observe it, analyze it, practice it, test it, and then go from there. So I picked up shit many times, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And played around with it for perhaps sometimes a little too long. So I'm definitely not exempt from that.
No, it's hard definitely when there's people throwing out stuff that's just, because social media, everything out there, information is so, accessible that there's people throwing that stuff out there that just isn't well,
not only
good.
that, too, it's like everyone wants to be the next one to blow up and have a million followers and stuff. So it's like, what are people willing to do just to be famous?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not those Canadian lads, Emmanuel. We just want to have good conversations, and hopefully we inspire somebody down the road. That's the goal.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, just be true to yourself. That's Jeff and I. We've worked together in business, and it's just the people who have success. I find they're true to themselves and they're true to others, right? So
I love
huge,
that.
Right? Yeah,
I love that. Yeah.
So Jeff also asks, What kind of individuals are you coaching today? So what kind of coaching are you doing? And what kind of individuals that are you kind of attracted to coach?
Yeah, you know what? At this stage, I feel like I pick and choose like my clients.
Yeah.
I was saying this the other day. I said I feel so like blessed to have like the crew, the tribe. I call them my tribe, that I work with right now. Most of them are working professionals, from like lawyers to videographers. Like one of my clients, she owns a boutique style videography company. Yeah, it's just a really cool group of athletes that I have. And when I say the boutique style videography company, she competes in masters level boxing and golf. And then her partner, he's a criminal defense lawyer, owns his own firm. He'll be competing indoors in track and field over 60 meters. So it'll be his first time racing. Took him from triathlons to sprints.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we got him, and then I have a bunch of young athletes. So hockey players, soccer players, baseball players, and so coaching them. I do a lot of stuff outside, just on the grass. You know, the grass is so much more forgiving than the track.
Yeah.
When we can get in a little bit more volume, working on acceleration, fast upright running, based on the sport and the amount of upright running that's present in it. Whereas hockey, for example, we do a lot of acceleration work because there's no need for upright running. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to speak in my Jeff voice once again. So
yeah.
I find myself having conversations about motivation versus, this is really weird, first of all, because he's written his questions in a way that I need to speak in his words. So I find myself having many conversations about motivation and dedication. In my opinion, I find that motivation, although the initial catalyst to create dedication is fleeting, and eventually it will only be the individual's dedication to their craft or goal that will carry them forward. What are your thoughts on that?
Can you hit me with that again one more time? I was with
Sure.
you. Yeah.
Sure. I need to hear it again as well.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I find myself having conversations about motivation versus dedication.
Okay.
In my opinion, I find that motivation, although the initial catalyst to create dedication is fleeting, and eventually it will only be the individual's dedication to their craft or goal that will carry them forward. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I believe I get what Jeff is putting down there. One being dedicated to their craft is what keeps them going, and I agree with that. I feel like I'll say motivation is fleeting. It's like perhaps like a fire that continuously needs to be fanned, but so many times we stop, and we have excuses, and all of a sudden that fire is out. And then you're like, all right, well, I can't do anything now. So if I can put this in perspective, with myself as a track athlete, and then even as a coach, so I'll just talk about track. I started off and I wasn't considered to be a development level hopeful or Olympic hopeful when I started, but I was so focused, I was so dedicated on getting better. I actually wasn't even concerned with going to the Olympics right away. I just said, hey, you know what? I lost here. I want to be one of the fastest. I want to see how fast I can run. And that was my so-called high, was I want to see how fast I can run. There were weeks and months where I was running slower, but I'd go home and my bus ride home was like an hour and a half. And if I had a terrible practice, the ride home, something would happen and I would be like, you know what? Today I actually didn't finish practice, or my last run was super slow. I can run faster next time. You know what I mean? And there was something was growing every time I took that bus ride home, and that I think was just me stirring this pot of just being super dedicated to this vision of me running faster, And I remember there was a time where I wrote down how fast I wanted to run, and I ran that fast and was like, oh shit, I need to write down a faster time. But that was okay. that wasn't scared about it or anything like that. I was like, this is what I want. This is what I'm dedicated to. And I really like this. I love this. And then coaching is the same. You know, when the trials that I go through now is, do I know enough as a coach, or am I doing the best for my client? And that's the battle that I have with myself. Did I do enough? You know, did they do enough? What could I make better? And that's what I'm dedicated to now. So
that's awesome. I think you answered Jeff's question very thoroughly. So thank you very much. You know what? Like, we're getting close to the end of the conversation, so I just have a few more things to kind of touch on before we close out the conversation. So on those Canadian Lads podcasts, so this podcast we always talk about was born from the COVID pandemic. We always wanted to do something together. Jeff and I, we've known each other for now over 20 years. But one of the topics that we really got into was the UFO phenomenon. And I was never into the paranormal. I was never into things in the sky or alien abductions or anything like that. But now I'm a believer. So every time someone comes on the podcast, I have to ask them, are you aware of what's going on in the world with the UFO phenomenon? And are you a believer with that there are things in the sky?
I mean, I'll answer the question by saying this. I do not think that we're the only. I mean, clearly we're not the. We can't be. I don't think we're the highest form of intelligence on this planet. And I feel like our senses only allow us to see so much or experience so much. And I think we're all coming at this from a limited point of understanding. You know, so I'd say there's probably something else going on around us that we aren't even able to see. I mean, maybe what we can see in the skies, we see these extraterrestrials, or spacecrafts flying around. I haven't seen any with my own eyes, but I've seen videos online enough that I'm like, interesting. Some people think it's a diversion. Other people firmly believe in it. I think there's probably extraterrestrials. Sometimes I think we're the extraterrestrials and we're inhabiting somebody else's land.
Hey, we could be. I've been educated on this topic now for the last year. Like I said, never was interested in any of this. And now I find myself looking up into the sky more often. I love that you kind of took it with a kind of a multi-dimensional aspect. You know, we might be living in layers of different dimensions, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a tribe in Africa called the Dogon tribe. And I believe, who was it? NASA had been looking for this tribe, or is still looking for these members of the Dogon tribe to find out as much information from them, because the info that they had about the constellation, about the planets, was pretty much, it was a catalog of 250,000 years. And they didn't have telescopes and things of that nature to gather this information, but they knew it. But the Dogon describes that our cosmic parents come from Sirius B. So that being said, it's like, we may not even be from this planet.
So, oh man,
who knows? The story of the Nephilim and all that, and Enki and Enlil, and so who knows?
So I know your age. You don't know my age. I know because it's all plastered all over the internet. So you're 38, right? Yeah. I'm 41. So do you think in our lifetime, will we have definitive proof that there's life beyond Earth?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I feel like that will pull the, what do they say? There's a saying, like when someone's just stuck up, what do they say? There's something stuck up their butt. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you know how people
So we're so
I'm
ignorant to,
It's like you find that out and you're like, you know what? Chill the F out, because man. There's things bigger than us. Like if we were to just shrink ourselves down just a little bit, I think that would actually increase our compassion and stuff.
Jeff's going to yell at me for asking you UFO questions, so it's going to be good. I can't wait.
Why he's not on board with those questions?
No, he is. He's into ghosts and
Nice.
all kinds of crazy stuff. So but he's gonna be like, man.
Well, I'm definitely a ghost guy, but I don't see ghosts. I had a roommate who used to see ghosts. She was my teammate as well, track and field. And funny story, she would ask me to walk around. I lived in the basement and she lived on the main floor, and she would ask me to walk upstairs, like walk in her room. And I was like, I don't want to walk in here. She's like, yeah, just walk in my room. Because every time that you come up to the main level, it's like the ghosts that I see, the malevolent ones, usually end up like running.
Oh.
So I was like, interesting, like running away.
Yeah.
So I would just, every once in a while when she would see them, I'd have to walk in her room, and she's like, yeah, you just cleared them out. Thanks. So I don't see them, but I guess I chase them away. Big, bad, malevolent ghost, and they're like, oh,
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate the honesty there. If it made you feel awkward, I'm so sorry, but I'm asking you. I'm asking. So before we close out, what can we do to help promote Emanuel Parris?
So nothing right now.
Yeah.
I'd say you can follow me on Instagram. I haven't been posting much over the last week. I just was going through this phase of like detoxing and stuff. So detoxing both when it comes to nutrition, social media as well, and just trying to spend a little bit more time by myself. I was eating out a lot, out in public a little bit too much, that kind of thing. And I just felt like I was losing focus. So This was a really, really cool reset. And I'm just like destroying fruit right now and loving it. Like my fingernails are just super clear right now. I usually wear glasses and my vision actually feels like pretty damn good. So this has been a cool little 5 days of detoxing, which is why I sound a bit congested and stuff too. But so shoot, I forgot where I was going with this.
Oh man, we're just talking about promoting. So if you're not promoting anything right now,
so I'll be posting more on social media. Follow me at runfast.club. I am getting so much love. People who are looking to start or who want to learn how to run. Some people are intimidated. They're like, I don't want to learn to run in front of a bunch of other people. I'd like to do privates. I like to do group sessions, semi-private, or group sessions, sometimes hybrid. So I could train someone for a few sessions one-on-one and then eventually move them into a group. And my training environments are all awesome. Everybody ends up being super cool with one another. But I'm looking to start a Run Fast club. So it's going to be a hybrid service. Some people will be training with me one-on-ones throughout the week, but then we'll eventually, at least 1 or 2 times in the week, be a part of a group. And we're either going to be meeting at one of 2 places, Gallagher Park and or Victoria School of the Arts grounds. Both of them are for the grass. We'll be sprinting on grass. Gallagher Park gives us the option to do hill running as well. We'll be doing resisted sprints with some equipment that I have. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be teaching people how to sprint. I'll bring them over to the dark side so they can learn how to run fast instead of jog slow.
That's awesome.
So
that is awesome.
.club and
runfast.club.
Yeah, runfast.club on IG. I just started that page. There's Coach Pow _ I'm going to try and get as much people over to the Run Fast Club as possible. And then we'll figure out what I'm going to be doing with Coach Pow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, to close it out, thank you. I appreciate it. I know Jeff will appreciate. No, man. No, it's awesome. I think just having conversations and, like I said, just having honest conversations, learning. You never know who might listen to this podcast down the road. You might be a kid in Edmonton, Alberta, or Ottawa, Ontario, wants to learn about running, and they're like, Emanuel Parris, he ran, and let's listen to him, and let's see what his journey was like. So,
I got one more thing to say. I forgot. I'm working with Groove Fix Media, video production company, and we're filming an extensive database, video database, all like 4K exercise, 4K quality videos. The Run Fast class portion is done, but now I'm going to be adding on the strength training programming as well.
Right on.
That app will be available. What was that? Sorry. That app will be available, say, within about 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it'll be cool. I'll be dropping that information on both Coach Pow _ on IG and runfast.club.
Well, we'll share both of those, obviously. What's that, sorry?
That kid in Ottawa can follow along.
Yeah, man. The next Olympic champion, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this, right? Is just, there's kids coming down the road that, we're going to be watching on TV when we're old.
Yeah.
When our running sticks or whatever you call them aren't working anymore, So, no, man, I really appreciate it.
Getaway cane.
The getaway cane. Yes. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, but I truly am honored to be able to speak with you. Just being a fan of athletics, like I said, when I ran into Kathy Freeman when I was 21 years old, I was excited to she was greatness, right? She had just run in the Olympics, right? So, but, thank you for representing our country and obviously representing yourself and kind of sharing your journey in athletics with us.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on the show. Hopefully I didn't talk too much, but hopefully I said the right stuff so that people can take in that information and do something.
No, I think it was a lot of good information, right? So, maybe down the road we'll have to have you on again. Maybe talk a little bit more different topics.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, we can go down that road. We can. So, but no, thanks again and appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, brother. Have a great evening. Thank you very much for having me.